This is the CMO of Gaia-X, Leonard. This is our newest podcast series. Gaia-X is a newly aspiring, rising European association, and together with you, we can develop a new concept of data infrastructure ecosystem based on the values of openness, transparency, sovereignty, and interoperability. Join us today at Gaia-X and be part of this technological ecosystem. So this is Leonard, CMO of Gaia-X, and we are here together with Peaq, one of our members, in our second series to discuss about what they have been doing for the past 2.5 months since our last interview. Hello, Leonard, how are you?
Hi, Vasilia. Yeah, it's great to be back, and I'm super good. Just coming out of the summer break, refreshed, and because you touched on it already. Since we spoke last, really the consortia we're mainly involved in, which is MoveID in the mobility domain. Yeah, we really started working now. It's officially in working mode. We're gonna have our kickoff meeting in a couple of weeks, but the operations are already up and running, and this is very exciting. So quite a few things I can talk about here.
Let's go back a little bit. I would like to take a moment to introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about Peaq. I mean, we introduced this in our past interview, but I would like to have a chance for our audience in general to hear a little bit about exactly what you do. What is your specific involvement to Peaq, and also your involvement and the role in Gaia-X?
Yeah, sure thing. So, my name is Leonard. I'm one of the co-founders of Peaq, and I'm responsible for the product development. And with Peaq, we're building a Web3 infrastructure. It's blockchain based. It's focused on the Internet of Things. And the goal is to enable what we call the economy of things, or machine economy. So we create a digital infrastructure where all kinds of machines, such as, for example, electric vehicles and charging stations, can exchange goods and services with each other in a peer-to-peer way without having to go through central big platforms. And we're building that infrastructure with the goal to provide an alternative to the big central platforms that exist as of today, because the internet is very centralized, data and power is very focused for a few players. That's also the reason why Gaia-X is created, right? To create an alternative with European values in Europe. And we're very much aligned with this, and that's why we're happy to be part of Gaia-X and be able to contribute to this overall goal.
So what is currently happening since we last talked? We last talked the summer of 2022. There have been some integrations. There has been a little bit more funding in place. How are you're going to use this? How are you going to make the link between what you do in product development, the business impact that you can potentially offer, and how you can link back to the Gaia-X specs, the trust framework, and the rest of the guidelines that we have as, let's say, a series of compliance guidelines and standardization to create the next service offerings of tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, quite a lot happened since we spoke last. On the Gaia-X side, like I said in the beginning, our consortia really started operating now. We were finally able to get going, which is great. So we are in working mode. Maybe a bit background on the consortia we're working in. It's called MoveID within the mobility domain. And this consortia is led by Bosch, and it has the tasks to set standards for self-sovereign identities and data sharing in a decentralized way, so that all kinds of mobility applications can be built on top to exchange goods and services. For example, you can book a parking spot via that, and so on with your car. And on the Peaq side, we closed our funding round recently, and we've done further product development. And what we really like about Gaia-X, that kind of everything we're developing on our site somehow has relevance in Gaia-X, because we're working on enabling those identities, which is already possible, access functionalities, payment functionalities, and all of this in a peer-to-peer and sovereign way. So like the product development we're doing is really what we also can use and show in Gaia-X. And then it's kind of, we're contributing with what we have and the innovations we create, but we're also getting a lot from Gaia-X in terms of requirements and understanding what the real world needs. And so we can like focus our product development better. And so this is kind of what's happening. And we are now in the process of really in the consortia looking, okay, who has done what already, where's the expertise, what are the requirements. We also are very focused on agile development, doing hackathons, like really figuring out what works and what doesn't, being able to create small, it's called MVPs, like minimal viable products, in order to see and get feedback on those. And we also started now to make sure that we are Gaia-X compliant and that we're applying the trust framework. We have great people and organizations in the consortia, which is, for example, Delta DAO, who work closely with Ocean Protocol technology. They're really helping us to onboard quickly, which is great. And it's exciting. It's a great group of organizations that are part of our consortia.
Are you currently involved in any of the working groups of the committees, possibly the technical committee?
Within our consortia?
No, within Gaia-X.
Okay. So we are not involved like actively outside of the consortia, because we're really like focusing there. So this is where we really have our operational resources, but we are definitely interested in getting involved also beyond our consortia. We work with many organizations, as I mentioned before, that are very involved in various parts of Gaia-X, and we are now like really making our way there. And then as we have capacity, we will also get involved beyond the MoveID consortia.
Yeah, this is quite important, because I think one of the main ways so that we can simply get immediate and long terms also for financial support is being involved within the open source community. And one of the immediate needs of Gaia-X is to receive more feedback from people like you, which are in the product development phase, to accelerate equally the phase of the code within Gaia-X. So how do you feel about this? Do you think that you could potentially involve other experts similar to yourself to our community?
Yeah, totally. I think exactly, like Gaia-X is a massive consortia overall, right? There's lots of theory that has been done. There's lots of guidelines, but ultimately it comes down to figuring out what actually works. And I think that's where, startups and also people that maybe think a bit more in a startup way to try things out and test things with Gaia-X guidelines as a foundation, like really can make a difference and can bring quick real world feedback. Because I think more traditional organizations and maybe conservative organizations tend to kind of make a massive plan and then try to work down the plan over a couple of years. And then at the end, they have a result, but no one actually knows if that result is really useful or if the market needs it or if it works. And startups, because they have limited runway, they have limited resources, they need to be like very fast and agile. They need to test quickly. They need to fail quickly, because if they fail not quickly and they make a massive wrong investment into one direction, they're going to die. And yeah, that's why I think it's super important that startups are actually involved, that agile companies are involved in Gaia-X and can really, yeah, experiment. And it's also kind of the spirit we're having. And I guess this is something we could then also transport out of our consortia, because we have quite a lot of startups, which I think is special within Gaia-X, because it's quite difficult for startups to get approved and join, because the requirements are so high, right? But the consortia lead Bosch, they really stood up and said, we need the startups in here, because without the startups, we don't even need to try, because they have the innovation. And I think that can give our consortia like a leading edge and help entire Gaia-X, because we have hackathons planned really where we want to try and iterate quickly. And yeah, totally. Like, I think transporting this into Gaia-X in general will be great, and something that we'll be talking about, especially with the partners that are already heavily involved in many other aspects of Gaia-X.
Well, our next hackathon is on the 26th, if I recall correctly, of September. So I think that you need to be definitely involved. But going back to the mobility aspect, and given that mobility is one of the vertical ecosystems and one of the data spaces that is receiving a lot of attention as we are currently speaking, and obviously funding for all the right reasons. And there are a number of front runners, the lighthouses right now, one of which is on the mobility data space. Can you shape a little bit the liaison between Web3 projects and mobility, and how you may be equally involved to the mobility data space ecosystem or not?
Yeah, so on the part of Web3 and mobility in general and the potential that's there, I think our consortia really has the task also to prove that those Web3 technologies based on blockchain can really fulfill the Gaia-X needs and vision. And one simple example maybe to mention why this is so powerful is because right now, as of today, mobility is very fragmented, right? There are many different mobility providers. You need to sign up with all of those apps, with all of those providers, and in order to move from A to B effectively. But if you would be able to open up this data space and kind of have all the aspects that are needed for mobility, with identities and also consumable data, then you could really create a very nice ecosystem where you can seamlessly transition in mobility from A to B without having to register again with all those different accounts, all those different payment methods, but have your one identity, have your one wallet, and be able to really do everything with that. And this is, I think, really on a very simple level, the power of Web3. You can create open ecosystems with identities where you can do all the transactions and settlements peer-to-peer without having to, without those closed platforms that exist today. I
don't want to interrupt, but trying to go back to how we can potentially transform the current status of mobility. Can we safely say that Web3 technologies can in fact transform mobility and even transform the way any European is actually working, his professional work he's going, how he's making himself useful? Will it make things a little bit different for the wider community good?
Yeah, for sure. I think it has tremendous potential to develop mobility in a better direction. And just thinking of the example of car sharing, right? If everyone would be able to offer their car for car sharing, the amount of available cars to book would be tremendous, right? But as of now, only cars are available for car sharings that are owned by a certain company and on a certain platform. But the Web3 technology enables those people-powered sharing economy models, where at some point everyone can just offer their car. And of course, there are many challenges until we get there. But this will change a lot. Micromobility, really booking trips from A to B, then train tickets and so on. All of this can be done with much less friction. And we have so many ways to move around in cities. There are so many cars, but they are not utilized in the best possible way because most cars are just standing around most of the time.
True.
But if we can like really enable that most cars are used most of the time, we create a highly efficient sharing economy. And this is really possible with Web3 technology because you enable all of those things to be visible, to be bookable, and and create those people-powered sharing economy models compared to right now it's company-powered sharing economy, where like one company has to build up a massive fleet of cars in order to do that car sharing. And I think it will transform mobility tremendously. And then for the wider society good, yes, like being able to have a highly effective sharing economy, needing less resources, less cars, and having more efficiency will have a massive positive impact on the environment and create higher efficiency in mobility, especially in cities.
Transitioning now to the decentralization approach, whereby you've built your infrastructure and you're trying to build something that will possibly replicate to specific services. Which considerations have been made in the planning process, but equally how you are going to manage to achieve this decentralization approach through what you're offering?
So in our planning and product development, we really have thought about, okay, what are like the core functionalities needed in order to build such decentralized applications and business cases that make sense. So this is what in our planning, we really think from an infrastructure perspective and what are the core functionalities that are needed on this infrastructure so people can come and build, for example, a decentralized car sharing application. And there we've created the identity functionality, access functionality. For example, when you need to access a car, right? In car sharing, there needs to be an access control functionality and also payment for settlement. And all of this runs peer-to-peer and decentralized. And the network this runs on, like the infrastructure, is also decentralized. So it's not run by us as a company, but it's run by a community and it's run in a decentralized way. Of course, it is right now rather centralized and it needs to transition to become fully decentralized. But then you have how I like to call it, a neutral digital infrastructure that's not owned and controlled by one entity, but it's really owned and controlled by an entire community, and there's governance in place. And it's open and transparent. And then you have those apps that just run on it in a decentralized way. And this is possible. Of course, there are many challenges until this is very nice and usable. But yeah, it definitely works.
And on a final, let's say, point, what should we expect from Peaq in the next 3 to 4 months, possibly right after the summit? How would you planning to integrate in your day-to-day business what we're doing, not just from a Gaia-X vision, but also in terms of the main specifications and the Gaia-X framework?
Yeah, great. Great point, because that's exactly what we're working on. We're working on implementing the Gaia-X trust framework on our side so that we have this up and running shortly, like very soon, and definitely in the next 2 months. And also the first use cases that are built on Peaq to monetize and offer that data over the minimal viable Gaia-X, which was built by Delta DAO and Ocean Protocol. So to really show and already, show that what we are working on is work within Gaia-X and show use cases, like first tangible use cases, business cases that are actually utilizing Gaia-X to sell and share data and offer and consume goods and services. So that is to be expected from us in the next 2 to 3 months. And of course, make progress in the Move ID consortia. We will have quite some news coming up very soon there.
This is wonderful. Now, as you know, the summit of 2022 is happening this year, November of this year, so on the 17th and the 18th of November. What do you expect to see at the summit?
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking very much forward to it. And what I'm expecting to see, I guess, what would be really great to see is tangible cases, like really showing people that this is what Gaia-X is. It works. I'm aware that obviously in the beginning the user experience is not so great because there are lots of challenges, right? I mean, it's really there, but hey, it doesn't only theoretically works, it also practically works.
No.
And obviously we all together have quite a way until it becomes amazing and feels like what we are experiencing today with the traditional internet and digital infrastructure. But I think seeing that and making the people believe in the overall vision and mission of Gaia-X would be the most powerful.
Okay. All right. So I guess you're planning to attend.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I hope that we can see you physically there. And if not, you're always welcome to attend remotely. And if I may say so, I would like you to be one of the active listeners and participants and even pose the right questions. Because in order for us to respond, the question has to be knowledgeable in the first place.
Sounds great. Yeah, thanks a lot for the invitation.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So see you soon, and let's plan for our next podcast as part of the Gaia-X podcast series. Thank you very much for listening to us. We'll be back for more.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.